If you're lost in a forest in Iceland, you just need to stand up. That's a joke that reflects the sad reality of this island. But what it lacks in trees, it substitutes with this plant that became super popular among many tourists and locals because of its beautiful color. It wasn't always like this. Just 80 years ago, this plant wasn't even here in the first place. So, what happened? This is a story of an invasive species and how it's changing the landscape of a country in front of our eyes. To get the whole picture of this story, we have to go all the way back to first settlement of Iceland. It is year 874 when the Norsemen arrived with the intention to settle here. They brought a lot of livestock as well, which was necessary in a country where the only living mammal was an Arctic fox. Although very cute, probably not the best source of important resources. They brought cows and horses, oxes and pigs, and of course sheep. Used to their lifestyle from mainland Europe, they started cutting down trees. Not just for the wood to make fire and build houses, but also to clear land for the animals to graze on. At this point, almost 40% of Iceland was covered in forests and woodland, so they felt like it's not a big deal. Unlike in mainland Europe though, the trees in Iceland grow at a much slower pace. And before the new trees even had a chance to grow, the livestock would feed on it, slowing down the whole process even more. Over hundreds of years of abusing resources, Iceland has lost 95% of its original forest cover. Iceland became less wooded and much more rugged. Even astronauts from Apollo missions came to Iceland to prepare for moon landing, as the landscape in some parts resembles it so much. At the time the astronauts were here, Iceland was already trying to solve the problem. Because of the damaged soil and no trees to protect it from the strong winds, Iceland was struggling with sandstorms and unfertile land. That's why in 1945 they sent a scientist to Alaska to research what plants and trees could survive Icelandic conditions and bring back their seeds. One of those seeds was this purple beauty. Lupinus Nootkatensis, or Nootka Lupine, found a new home basically immediately. It didn't need much attention as well. Just put the seeds in the ground and let it grow. The reason why lupins did so well in a place where other plants struggled is because it basically fertilizes the soil for itself. One of the key components of any fertilizer is nitrogen. Lupins can take nitrogen from the atmosphere and introduce it to its own roots and the ground surrounding it. It seemed like a perfect solution to the problem of damaged soil that was missing important nutrients. The idea back then was, let's plant lupins, let them grow and enrich the soil with nitrogen, effectively fertilizing the land for free, and then grow other crops afterwards. But lupins don't like to share the land. They grow over 1 meter tall with the leaves spreading, blocking other plants below them from getting any sunlight. And they carry a lot of seeds, which makes them grow exponentially faster. Lupins don't like to grow in shadow as well, so while in Alaska, lupin can take over a meadow but won't take over a forest, in Iceland nothing is stopping it from spreading wider and faster. But what's the problem? It looks beautiful, people can take photos, it's enriching the soil. So what? The problem is, it's monopolizing the land, destroying the native species, and reducing biodiversity. And the seeds are toxic as well, so it doesn't even make a good plant for the sheep to graze on. So far, lupins can be only found in the lowlands, which, with the global warming, might soon change as well. Icelandic highlands were considered to be too cold for anything to grow there, but with rising temperatures, lupins might be able to spread inland and take over the moon-like landscape Armstrong and his fellow astronauts came to train at. Naturally, all of this has become a very divisive topic in Iceland. Some people love it and some people are not so happy, as lupins have been classified as invasive species. And it's not just a problem in Iceland. Lupins in all Nordic countries and New Zealand are now viewed as an environmental threat. Let's not paint the picture completely black. If you plant trees in the areas with lupins, they might benefit from enriched soil. Once those trees grow big enough, they would drop shadow on those lupins and make them recede. Counting on the fact, of course, that the sheep wouldn't eat the trees before, but farmers nowadays are more aware of where their sheep are grazing and they could help with conservation of the land. Whether you like lupins or not, the future is now in hands of Iceland. It's a topic that sooner or later has to be dealt with. Before that happens, we can enjoy the sight of endless purple fields, at least for a few weeks of the year. But that's it for today. If you like this video, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe, and I will see you next time. But until then, ciao!